It's the Audible with Joshua Cole Allen, live on Bucks Report.
Welcome to the Audible. We're live here. We're going to be breaking down some of these picks on day 3. We'll have some special guests popping in here. We're going to be talking about all this. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. I'm going to drop the link right down there if you guys want to come on here. But so far, a great draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You brought in Joe Tryon with the first pick in the first round. I thought that was an amazing pick. You then follow that up with Kyle Trask, and I know there's a lot of tension about Kyle Trask and that pick as a whole, but you always want to draft a quarterback when you don't need one, not when you need one. I trust in Bruce Arians. I trust in the scouting department and this staff to really be able to get the best out of a guy like Kyle Trask. He's got all the tools, accuracy, enough arm strength, as you heard Bruce Arians say, to really make all the throws. It's going to be interesting to see the dynamic. Jason Light in his press conference said last night that he spoke with Tom about the possibility of them taking a quarterback early and that he seemed on board with it. Something they've done, in New England when he was there as well, spending higher picks on quarterbacks. And you saw right after he got taken with the next 4 picks, both Davis Mills and Kellen Mond were both selected right after him. So it was a good spot to grab him. They came back in the 3rd round. They grabbed Robert Hainsey, a right tackle. I know Bucs Nation was a little upset. I know they wanted to bring in a guy like Quinn Miners, everyone's little draft crush there from Wisconsin Whitewater. But, Robert Hainsey is a guy who's played all over the line, right tackle. Started 34 career starts there, but then at the Senior Bowl played all over the line at right guard, left guard, center. He's a guy who's got a lot of position and flexibility and can offer a lot for this team down the road. He'll probably come in, play that jumbo tight end role right away. But let's get back to some of these picks that have gone off the board. Jabril Cox goes to the Dallas Cowboys. After that, Bobby Brown, and it looks like Chris Rump II from Duke. Couple of really good players there who were still on the board. I actually like Derek Barnett a lot. He went to the Lions right before that. I had him potentially draft as a draft day option for the Buccaneers today. Did not get, obviously drafted by him. Didn't fall there. Jabril Cox, another one. I do think linebacker is a position and a spot that they will be looking for in this draft. A couple of guys to watch out for. Isaiah McDuffie is really one of my favorite guys in this draft. Hilliard from Ohio State as a guy that they had communications with throughout the pre-draft process. So there's some guys there that they have talked to for sure in the linebacker position that they're going to probably bring somebody in. That 4th linebacker spot still unknown. Guys, go ahead. Feel free to come talk to me in the comments. Let's get it going. Join on the show, and let's get some good back and forth going. I'm excited about the draft so far. 2 days down. 1 day to go. Bucks will be on the clock here shortly. We're at pick 119. The Vikings are making their selection. We have a pick at 137. Here's a good one. The Vikings just took Keen Nagwanwu, running back from Iowa State. Dude is a special teams menace. We had, if you were on the Audible 2 weeks ago, we had Justin Mello of the Draft Network come on here, and I asked for some sleepers on special teams. This is one of the guys he mentioned. He's got great speed, can break tackles, really could be a force on special teams. If you're watching some of the draft highlights, you're seeing him, just run over defenders. But great kick returner. You're seeing 2018 second team All Big 12 selection as a kick returner. A lot of versatility, and that's a position that the Buccaneers are probably going to be looking at in this draft. Guys who can return, who have play special teams, as we heard from Bruce Arians. They're looking for guys who can be who have speed and who can play on special teams. A couple of guys to look out for that they could potentially target. Racey McMath, wide receiver out of LSU. Another guy they could kind of go after. Obviously, Avery Williams, I've spoke about him a lot from Boise State, cornerback, but kick returner, wide receiver. Kick returner, running back, played some safety. The picks are just rolling in right now. The Patriots are on the clock, and the selection's coming in. So we'll see who they grab right here, and then we'll talk about him a little bit. So it looks like it's going to be Ramondre Stevenson, Running back, Oklahoma. Good prospect. I like Ramondre a lot for the Buccaneers, a guy who has spoken to the Buccaneers during the pre-draft process. I still think running back could be a target for them. Elijah Mitchell out of Louisiana Lafayette could be a guy they look at in the later rounds. Trey Ragas, also from Louisiana Lafayette, another guy they could look at. Khalil Herbert still on the board. That's kind of surprising me. Also, Chuba Hubbard, two guys they spoke with as well. Running back, well, it's not a necessary position right away. It's a spot where they have three of their guys right on one-year deals. So if you can get another running back in on the cheap, it would make sense to add one in just as a rotation, just to kind of back yourself up for next year. So a guy like Khalil Herbert. Good pick right there if the Bucs can grab him in the fourth round. I like Demetric Felton as well. Plays a little bit of wide receiver, a little bit of a running back too. He can be that kind of versatile piece where you can line him up in the slot. Really, multitude of ways you can use him, and he also plays special teams. So I think that's what we're looking for in this draft, guys, is special teamers. And guys who can come in and contribute in a variety of ways in that role. Obviously, you always want to try to find role players any way you can. And we're going to bring a special guest in here. This guy's been nonstop with great draft coverage throughout the entire process. All the articles, everything coming up. My first time really being on screen with him. I'm kind of excited. So let's bring him in. Mr. Evan Winter, how we doing?
What up, man? How's it going? Doing great. Can't complain at all.
Yeah, just breaking down this draft. Seen some pretty good picks go here recently. You had Dallas grab Jabril Cox.
Unfortunately.
Bobby Brown go. Who is the guy on the board that you're surprised that's still there?
Let's see. Let me check out the board real quick. I was looking at it right before he came on.
You just mentioned someone on Twitter that I thought.
Yeah, Brevin Jordan would probably be right off the top of my head somebody. I figured he would have been gone in about mid-third. Definitely a super athletic tight end, so he is certainly a surprise. And then Davian Nixon, honestly, lasting until the fourth. Even Marlon, I always screw these names up, but Tuipulotu, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, Tuipulotu, like him, I'm pretty surprised he's still there as well. So, but yeah, Brevin Jordan probably be my top surprise right now.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be taken a long time ago. One of the best picks, I think, and you're seeing some of these guys, slide down the draft, is a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown to the Detroit Lions. I think that's a perfect fit for that offense. They lost a bevy wide receivers, and I don't know how he even fell this far, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the receivers, man, like what, yesterday in rounds 2 or 3, I can't remember which exactly round it was, but there was like a receiver drought. A receiver didn't go for about 10, 15 picks. So I don't know if that's just because teams are assuming more receivers are going to be there since it's so deep, so they're not taking them, or maybe this class is a little bit overblown. Who knows?
And we've also seen, players teams take players who I had lower grades on. Obviously, the Kuntz guy, Malcolm Kuntz, yesterday, the Raiders took in the third round. I had like a 5th, 6th round grade on him. But even some of these wide receivers, the Desmond Fitzpatrick, who has gone already in the first round to the Titans, your Tennessee, well, not your Tennessee Titans, but home state Tennessee
right
from Louisville. But a guy that went, and you talked a lot about him, is someone that you cover, is Josh Palmer.
Yes.
You got a pretty good landing spot there with the Chargers. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely, man. And I think he's going to be more of that intermediate guy. He was a deep threat at Tennessee, and he plays a lot faster than what his 4.51 shows on paper. I mean, some guys in the NFL, when they put the pads on, they lose some speed. They lose a step or two. Josh Palmer is one of those guys where when he puts the pads on, he doesn't lose a step. So his 4.5 is pretty legit. Regardless, he's going to be more of an intermediate guy, though. I think the best part about him at UT was he got better every year, and he improved as just an overall receiver every year. And by the end of his career, he was getting open over the middle more. He was making those tough catches. He was learning how to run those in routes, those dig routes, all that good stuff, and the out-breaking routes. So it's a really good fit, man, and I'm really excited for him. I'm glad he went in the third round because honestly, that is where he belonged. But a lot of people, I'm trying to think right off the top of my head, I think it was PFF was the only major outlet that had him in the fourth round or higher. They had him going in the third round to the Bears, and that's actually pretty accurate because Tennessee's offense just an absolute dumpster fire, especially this last year, and he was certainly a victim of it. So, I mean, but yet, despite this dumpster fire, he produced pretty well. So, he's an athletic guy, man, and I can't wait to see what he does with Justin Herbert.
Now, the biggest thing I want to ask about, and I think a lot of people are, still have this on their mind: why quarterback at 64, and why Kyle Trask ahead of Mon, ahead of Davis Mills? What have you seen? I mean, what have you seen out of Kyle Trask that makes you think that he was the sixth best quarterback in this draft?
I don't necessarily know if he was the sixth best. I like Kellen Mond more than Kyle Trask. That's just my own personal opinion. That's because he has more athletic upside. That's the only reason why. Outside of that, I think Kyle Trask is a really good fit for this offense. What I've seen out of him is something you mentioned before on Bucks Report, has a really good mental aspect to his game, and that's needed in this offense. And really in the NFL, you see like Ryan Fitzpatrick, why has he lasted this long? It's because he's a smart quarterback. He knows how to make the proper reads. Yes, he can make dumb decisions and stuff, but at the end of the day, he knows how to run an offense. And as long as you have that part of your game down and you have just enough athleticism, which is what Trask has, then you're fine. His arm is just fine. I think the things people saying about how he doesn't have that great of an arm is overblown. But I think Tampa Bay took him at 64 because he wasn't going to be there. They knew that run was coming. They knew that early part of the round. The report was from Pelissero earlier this week that the Vikings, the Bucks, the Saints were all doing that extra legwork. Well, guess what? Guess who else took a quarterback? The Vikings. So turns out that was absolutely true. And it looks like the Texans – we can get to that in a second, but the Texans drafting Davis Mills was probably the curveball the Saints weren't expecting, so that's why they didn't draft anybody. But I just think they thought he wasn't going to be there, and even though we've talked about it a lot during the offseason, they have 8 draft picks, maybe not likely for one of those guys to make the roster. I still think they wanted to have all their draft picks, and they didn't want to trade next year's draft picks either. So they just went ahead and pulled the trigger at 64. And I totally get it. It makes sense. So not a bad idea in my opinion, at least.
No, and that was throughout the process. This was a guy that they really liked. They talked to him multiple times. Went to his pro day, obviously. But then we come around to that third round pick, and it's not who I think most Bucs fans wanted or thought it was going to be. Quinn Miners sitting there from Wisconsin Whitewater, and they choose to go with Robert Hainsey over Quinn Miners. Why do you think that they went that route? Do you think it was more because of his ability to play tackle as well as guard and center that he showed he could do at the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, that, and he's probably more ready than Miners is, and that's nothing against Miners. And I even, whenever – I can't remember who it was, maybe Daniel Jeremiah, whenever his pick was made, Miners, Jeremiah was talking about how he just didn't really play that well in college either, and how it was mostly his tape at the Senior Bowl or just his performance at the Senior Bowl is what drove his stock up. So you've got a guy who had kind of a questionable career and then all of a sudden just has a really good performance, and despite who that was against, maybe the Bucs just had a bigger sample size or like the sample size more. I think I think Hainsey's a little bit of a bigger guy than Miners as well, and he can play all 3 interior positions as well. So he slid inside during the Senior Bowl and played really, really well. So, and he was also a 3-year starter, so plenty of experience. I just think they liked the sample size better of what they saw with Hainsey at the end of the day.
Now, you just mentioned tight end, Brevin Jordan. Another tight end just went ahead of him, and John Bates from Boise State, a guy that the Buccaneers did have communication and we're talking with. A lot of people kind of roll their eyes when you mention tight end or wide receiver, but the reality of the situation is you have Gronk, you have O.J. Howard in contract years, and while Cam Brate is has no guaranteed money, so every year is pretty much a team option. They put in 2-year team options in his new contract that he reworked. How much of a position do you think tight end is a need. And same with wide receiver with a guy like Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin's uncertainty.
Yeah, wide receiver, tight end, running back, all three of those are pretty much in the same category. They've got great starters. They have very solid depth. But in terms of contracts, time's kind of running out. Antonio Brown, 1-year deal. Chris Godwin, 1-year deal. O.J. Howard, 1 year left. Rob Gronkowski, 1-year deal. Cam Brate, he's still got 3 years left, including this year, but he's getting older and more expensive over the next 2 years. Next 2 years, he's going to count $7 million against the cap. And then running back, Rojo, 1 year left. Leonard Fournette, 1-year deal. Giovanni Bernard, 1 year left. So all of those three positions are in the same category. I don't think it's a bad idea to take a player at any of those positions in any round. So they could definitely have drafted a fourth tight end in this draft. They still have Tanner Hudson. He's that guy. You always kind of wonder if he's ever going to take that final step or not. And obviously the coaching staff likes him because they continue to keep him around. But at the end of the day, it would not surprise me if they take a Brevin Jordan here late in the fourth just to come in and, shore up whatever depth questions they might have at that fourth tight end spot. And they will take 4 tight ends into the year this year because that's what they've done the last 2 years. So why would they stop now?
Yeah, and you mentioned that in your article today that you wrote about the different needs, and you kind of lumped wide receiver, tight end, and running back all together. I just put out a quick little mock on my Twitter page. What do you think about guys like Demetric Felton, who can play running back and wide receiver, and also a guy like Jacob Harris from UCF, who can play tight end and wide receiver? 6'5", runs a 4.4 40, and then obviously Demetric Felton, his ability all over the field. That's why I kind of had them going that route, because you get guys who are versatile enough that can play multiple positions. It allows you to keep less players, right? I mean, because they have that versatility. So what are your thoughts on those two guys and the chances they might be around for the Bucs in either round 4, 5, or 6?
Yeah, I think there's a great chance that all of them could be there, and I love it. I love the idea. Anytime you can kind of use one roster spot to help out another position and save a roster spot in the process, that's always a good idea. I mean, that's why most the kickers in the NFL or either your field goal kicker or your punter is also your kickoff guys, so you don't have to waste a roster spot on a kickoff guy. It makes total sense. That's one reason why I was a big fan of Rondale Moore. Now, he obviously wouldn't be, running back. The Bucs aren't going to list him as a running back, but he could line up in the backfield at times and take snaps out of the backfield. So at the end of the day, that helps in case, let's say, Gio gets hurt and you've only got 3 running backs and you can't find a viable running back on the market to bring in. So anytime you can take heat off of one position and, like I said, help save a roster spot, yeah, dude, I'm down for it all day long.
Yeah, there's a couple other players here. We heard that Bruce Arians really mentioned that they're going to go with the special teams guys, and that's the best way for some of these guys to make the roster. You look at 5th cornerback, 4th safety, 4th linebacker, potentially interior defensive tackle, and a weak defensive tackle class. You already mentioned a guy like Davian Nixon still sitting on the board, Tupiolotu still sitting on the board, and there's a couple other guys. We saw Tyler Shelvin and Bobby Brown go off. But there's still a few other guys on the board there at defensive tackle that I think could really come in and make an impact. What are the chances they do take a defensive tackle after they brought back all these other players?
Yeah, that's probably the slimmest one, but at the same time, I kind of feel like I'm being mundane here, and I apologize, but it's still the same. You've got 2 starters in Ndamukong Suh and Will Golston who are in the last years of their contracts. Nacho's on a 2-year deal, so next year will be his last year deal. You're about to pay Vita Vea a pretty decent amount of money. It's not going to be world-shattering or anything like that, but he's definitely not going to be costing the $3 to $4 million that he's been on the tab for the last few years. So you do need to have some kind of option for the future. I love Patrick O'Connor. I love Jeremiah Ledbetter, but they're more of your special teams type guys, your kickoff, punt return type linemen, all that good stuff. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all for them to take a defensive lineman, a defensive tackle type. It's just going to be more of, is it going to be that, in Todd Bowles' defense, there's really no, outside of nose, there's no really true defensive tackle or defensive end. So just to kind of keep it in line here. The only question is going to be, is it going to be that guy who's going to play over the B gap, or is he going to be a guy who comes in and subs in for Vea and, plays the nose? I would love to see him take Kairis Tonga. He sounds like a Vea clone, or Vea, God, I can't believe I just did that. Vea clone, and I would love to have somebody else behind him, because Steve McClendon, another guy, he would back up Vea right now, but he's on a 1-year deal. So, just
35.
Yeah, and that too. So definitely, I definitely think it's in the realm of possibility for them to take one, and they might take one in the 4th round. I think all these positions right now, I mean, once again, the Bucs are in the best player, or the position to take the best player available. They got their edge. They've got that depth question sealed up. They got their quarterback. They've got their interior offensive linemen, just like we've all talked about. Those were their biggest needs. So now they can still do whatever the hell they want, as Bruce Arians likes to say.
Yeah, it really gives them that flexibility, bringing everybody back, and not just the starters, but the core, backup players as well. I like Tonga a lot. I actually have them taking him as Mr. Irrelevant in my mock that's already been blown up with Derek Barnes off the board. But another guy just went off the board to Carolina. Chuba Hubbard's gone. I like Chuba, and I know he had spoken with the Buccaneers. But watching him and watching his tape, he just seems like a Ronald Jones clone to me. He's good at running the ball, has some electrifying plays, but he's not a good pass blocker. He doesn't have the strongest hands. He's going to go in and back up Christian McCaffrey. Hold on. I think the Bucs just traded up.
No way.
That'll be perfect to have you here.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, Bucs just traded up. Colts drafted tight end Kylan Granson. So we're going to give you this pick here, guys.
So there goes that whole theory of mine about them wanting to keep all their picks.
Yeah, right.
Traded up to 129 with the Seahawks. That's all I've got so far.
Yeah. So Bucs made a trade. They're moving up. We'll see what they're targeting. There's definitely some good players from the top 100. Brevin Jordan, Kenneth Gainwell. We talked about Davian Nixon, Marlo Tuilio.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard to do it fast, man. I can't do it fast.
Yeah, I can't do it fast.
Even Quincy Roche might be an option. I mean, they've got a lot of potential targets here.
Deontay Smith, Rashad Weaver's a name. Trey Smith as well from Tennessee is another guy.
Wharton, wide receiver, North Texas, Jalen Darden. That's actually a good one. Jalen Darden.
They took Jalen Darden?
Yeah, I like that. So there you go, wide receiver, man.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, he fits. I'm not. He fits, but let's see what the scouting report says about him. I believe he's a slot guy. Had a 5th, 6th round grade, so I mean we know take those for a grain of salt. But let's get into Jalen Darden a little bit. A guy I did not do a lot of research on. He had crazy stats at North Texas. I remember hearing him at one point in time. But yeah, hold on. I've got to do that. Hold on, let me sign off real quick and sign right back on. I got to get the article up on the website real quick. Absolutely.
All right, I'll be right back.
Yep. So trade alert. The Buccaneers traded up to select wide receiver Jalen Darden. A little bit about Jalen Darden. Let's get into it. He's a little bit undersized. He's 5'7", 174, scream slot player. He did run a 4.4 40, 11 bench presses. The threat of deep speed opens up underneath cushions, accelerates the top speed with 1 step. So this is a field stretching guy. He's going to be a guy who's going to stretch the field. Darden is undersized, will limit his role potential in the NFL, but his foot quickness and home run gear will leave defenders in the dust. He projects similar to Jakeem Grant when he was coming out of Texas Tech with the Dolphins now. So let's see if he did a little bit of special teams work, returning. Darden has electric feet to win up the line, separate out of his breaks or create with the ball in his hands. Only Devontae Smith and Amari Rodgers had more yards after the catch in 2020. So, he had 560 yards, 76 yards after the catch. I'm not sure. He does like to block, get his hands dirty. Looks like he's more of a slot receiver that can get down the field. 19 touchdowns last year. So really good production out of the kid from North Texas. But let's see some more here. What do they give up? They gave up the 6th round pick. So they gave up their 6th round pick to move up to this spot. About 8 picks to move up to get this guy. Not so sure I love that move. He was a punt returner too, special teams, so that's a good move. Did special teams. Only 1 fumble on his resume. Return experience, 8.9 yards per punt return with 1 touchdown. He's a hard worker. Doesn't have a lack of drive or determination. So, 1,100 yards last year, 74 catches. Very productive. Lots of catches out of this guy. In 2018, caught 48 balls. 2019, 76. Last year, 74 in a shortened game season. 16.1 yard per average catch. He's had 38 career touchdowns, 2,782 career yards, and 230 career receptions. So the guy can catch the ball. He can get after it. We talked about his yards after the catch, 576 yards. So, they moved up. They gave up their 6th. We talked about how all these guys weren't going to make the team potentially. They get a guy who can come in and be a returner in the punt return game. 1 touchdown. Not as explosive, but a special teams guy for sure. Fast gunner. He's going to be able to get down the field. You got to think that's where they're going to start him off at, and we'll see what he does and how he develops down the line. Guys, any questions or any thoughts? I'm going to have to hop off here real quick because I'm going to have to go to the press conference with Jalen Darden, and then I'll be back on here right after that, and we'll break down some more of these Bucks round picks. They still have a 5th round pick coming up at pick 130, 147 maybe. Hold on, 148. Hold on. Their 5th round pick is 176. I'm sorry. So we'll be back before 176 to break down some more of these things. They traded their 6th rounder. No D-line help yet, but they did bring back most of their players. They have Jeremiah Ledbetter. We'll get Andrew Faubert up here real quick. Andrew, how we doing, my man?
Not too bad, brother. How we doing today?
Hey, they got a wide receiver. Interesting pick, I think.
I just came downstairs and saw it, and I thought maybe this was trade up for Demetric Felton or something like that. And
I thought potentially too, or maybe Davian Nixon, who continues to fall. I was kind of surprised about that pick right there.
Marvin Wilson's still on the board too, is he not?
Who?
Or Marvin or Martin Wilson?
Marvin Wilson, yes, he's still on the board as well. Dang. Browns draft has been amazing. They just got Tommy Togai as well from Ohio State. So a good special teamer. This guy looks like he's going to be, if he's not a great punt returner, he's definitely going to be, a good gunner. But a trade up, not something I expected for a wide receiver.
No.
But hey, I like the pick. It puts Justin Watson on notice, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They traded up with their 4th and 6th to get him. So they have 2 7th rounders and a 5th rounder left. We'll see what they do to address those positions. I think linebacker and cornerback are still 2 positions that they could address. Also defensive tackle. So you're looking at those 3 positions I would think would be addressed. Maybe, oh, wow. Ravens just got Tylan Wallace here in the 4th round. That's a great pick by them.
Good pick.
So yeah, I think that's a great pick. Andrew, I'm gonna have to hop off here in a couple minutes.
Of course.
If you want, you can keep the show going, and I'll be back after this press conference. I got a couple more minutes, but yeah, we're just talking draft, breaking down these picks as they come in, breaking down the picks as they happen. But yeah, Buccaneers trade up for a wide receiver. Who would have thunk it, right?
In my opinion, I mean, and quickly yours, do you think this would be like a Mickens replacement as well?
Definitely.
Yeah, this could be our special teams returner. Nice development there. But the trade up, yeah, like, I mean, this is so weird. I like Josh was saying here, I did not expect us to be trading up at all for that.
And it was 8 picks too. They traded up 8 picks. So I mean the price is right.
Okay, that's not too bad. I thought maybe it was a little bit more, but that's not too bad.
No, it's just the fact that they they traded up for a wide receiver is the shocking part. But again, this guy special teams. That's what we were talking about. Was a guy that could play special teams, and they got him. So
that's okay. Now, did he was on your list of players that they had talked to as well, correct?
No, I had not spoken to Jalen Darden. So
interesting.
I'm sure that they spoke to him. I just did not speak to Jalen Darden myself. So
not a problem. Yeah, I was going to say, because I saw the list that you had put up there just on Twitter. I went to go back and see it, and I didn't see his name, and I'm like, what? Where did this guy come from? And my board itself too. I just took it down. I'm doing the 4th round, and I'm doing the dynasty stuff on the other side here. And I'm pretty sure I had this receiver as like a Scotty Miller type in the 6th round, like one of those.
That's where he was projected to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry, go ahead, buddy.
I was going to say I'm not going to question anything that this coaching staff in this department does.
Nope.
They know their stuff. So, and punt return has been a need. Only 1 touchdown, which is but definitely as a gunner, he's going to be there. Like I said, 230 receptions, 2,700 yards, 38 touchdowns. It was 3rd in the nation last year in yards after catch. So you got to like that as well. I'm going to drop this link back here in the comments. If you guys want to come up here, talk to me and Andrew. Like I said, I'm probably going to have to dip out in a short minute to go handle this press conference.
Not a problem. Yeah, I was going to say, you probably have a very important press conference to come up to now.
But yeah, look at Evan Winter too. Already has an article out for Bucks Report on Jalen Darden. You got to love the speed and efficiency of that guy. Guys, feel free to pop up in here.
I'm gonna go. That's on. He's got that on Twitter right now.
Absolutely.
Right on.
Who went 130? That's what I need to know.
130.
Oh, it was Robert Rochelle, cornerback out of Central Arkansas. Great pick. I don't know how he's still on the board. Still, Davian Nixon's still on the board. I'm very shocked by that. He was a player that was projected to potentially be in the 1st round to the Buccaneers at the start of this process, the draft process, and he's falling all the way to the 4th and almost the 5th round. In the 5th round right now.
Yeah, there's starting to be some steals here in the 5th round.
Yeah, there's definitely some guys still on the board, and we're talking about a lot of offensive tackles. We got Kenneth Gainwell, Marlon Tupiolotu still on the board, Brevin Jordan, Deontay Brown from Alabama.
The Browns just got Tommy
Togai, good pass rusher. They've had a great draft, really great draft. Getting Tommy Togai here in the 4th is really great value. I'm surprised Rashad Weaver out of Pittsburgh is still on the board too. He's a good edge rusher.
Yeah,
a couple safeties too. Hamza Nasir Doreen from Florida State. Trey Smith on the board still, but I understand because of the blood clots.
Gainwell is still there.
Yeah, that's
a big surprise for me. I thought when the Jets were at the 2nd pick of the round, and I saw that it was Michael Carter. I mean, still a great pick, amazing pick for dynasty people who are, hoping that another starting running back was going to fall into the rookie draft. I was hoping that it was going to be Kenny Gainwell. Just that would have been really, really fun. But obviously, they wanted a more all-around back, and they got it there. So,
yeah, absolutely. There was, I mean, you had the Minnesota Vikings take Keen Nagwanwu, in my mind is more of a special teams guy.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it's Interesting draft so far. I really like Michael Carter. If we're talking about running backs, going to the Jets in the top of the 4th round, I think they've had a really good draft. Minnesota, I think, has a really good draft. But Chuba, your guy Chuba.
We're gonna have to play him twice a year. That's hard.
Yeah, Chuba goes to Carolina.
Which, I mean, I think it's more of just like a quick incentive. They've always done really, really well having, 2 running backs, whether, it's D'Angelo Hall or with D'Angelo Williams and the other guy there of back in the day. And then when McCaffrey went down, Mike Davis stepped in so that, every time that they've lost a running back, they've had a good replacement. And it was also said somewhere on Twitter that I saw that someone was saying, if that package that they were thinking about with Houston with Deshaun Watson is still there, and Christian McCaffrey could possibly still be dangled, and you could still see what you can get out of Chuba. But I don't know. That Watson situation is so weird. I don't even know what the heck is going to happen to that. But the Rodgers situation, that is some funny stuff.
Yeah, I mean they got a pretty good wide receiver. I mean, you look at what they did yesterday. They pretty much they took their cornerback, which they needed. They took their wide receiver that they needed, and they took their center that they needed. So they had needs, and they made sure that they went out and they
addressed it. And that's what they always do.
Needs, yeah.
They always address the needs. They never dive into that. Oh, we need this and we need that, and we need to make sure this. The Packers have always been an organization that is a winning organization for a reason. It may not be the flashiest of things that they do, but it always just gets the job done. And we can't necessarily hate them for that.
Exactly.
I mean, it's the same thing with regards to your Patriots. I was talking with my co-host Alex last night and was saying, if the fact that Miami hasn't addressed, 2 early picks in the on the offensive line really shows that the Patriots are probably going to get that second place in that division, only for the fact that Miami's not going to be able to win 2 games against the Patriots if you can't stop that onslaught of a pass rush that is now coming.
Here goes the next quarterback off the board.
Watch it be Sam Ellinger.
Close. It's going to be Ian Book to the Saints.
Ooh. Just another development.
Yeah. So now they have Taysom Hill, they have Ian Book, and they have Jameis Winston. Another 6-foot quarterback. He's more Breeze-like than anybody else in this draft, though. I'll tell you that.
True. It's a very good comparison. I mean, end of the 4th. They wanted to go.
Yeah, I thought it was early. I had him taking him in the 7th, and Mr. Irrelevant in one of my mock drafts early in the season. I think this is kind of early for him, but.
And I would have actually expected the Saints to maybe go after Jamie Newman. I mean, you got Taysom Hill and you got Jameis Winston that you could still see what you got for a year or 2, and you can develop Jamie Newman into a Cam Newton type quarterback. He wasn't bad. He just took a year off, and he did a transfer, so he kind of got lost in the portal and this, that, and everything else. But
yeah, I like Jamie Newman's upside a lot more too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get Notre Dame products have been doing pretty good last few years as well. And we were actually me and Johnny were talking last night because I think he brought up a Hainsey. He's like, why, not mad that he was grabbing a tackle, but he's like, why this one? And I was like, it's more like having another Stinney and a AK Shipley. It's just another plug and play. That
you got a guy who can play 4 spots on the line. So.
Yep. And he's like Kappa.
I don't hate it.
No, he's like Kappa. Like he can come in and be developed. Like, I mean, everyone hated him. I mean, most people hated him on the Bucs for the first 2 to 3 years. And like, why do we have this 3rd rounder in? I mean, it's development here, guys. You got to let these players play if you want to get the best out of them. And Hainsey's going to come in at certain spots and, ball out in certain positions, which is going to be nice for us. The Kyle Trask one, I just so much hate on Twitter this morning. Why?
Everyone wants that splashy play, that splashy guy. And when it doesn't happen, this is what you get, right? This is the kind of reaction you get from it.
And it was funny because I said, if anything, this is probably the best situation we could have ever asked for in this like with Brady right now. Like, we got a guy that Brady actually talked to outside of football and got to know. And if Brady doesn't leave this organization after he's done playing, he's going to be like an owner or a president of operations. We've all talked about that. That's what we kind of think is going to happen. And if he does, now he gets to say groom a quarterback better than any other coach could have, because now he gets to like actually hang out with them, and he doesn't have to break any rules because he's a player. He's not a coach right now. So we could really find out about this Kyle Trask guy, and everyone's, upset about it. And I get it as well. It's not another edge rusher and it's not a defensive tackle there and stuff, but it's also a Florida quarterback. And I just absolutely love that. Janaris Robinson from Florida State Minnesota's just like, all right. We need defense, and we're sorry, guys. We want to go back to the playoffs, and we will get there.
I love Janaris Robinson. This guy screams better pro than a collegiate athlete. I like his size, like his speed, his ability to get after the rusher. Didn't really have as many stats, and we'll get Evan back in here. How we doing, Ev?
Hey, what's up? Sorry, I had to get everything ready for the next pick. So
yeah, that was fast, man. You were lightning quick.
Hey, it helps to have everything like the structure and the skeleton pre-written out before. Then I just got to go back in and plug everything in and hit publish. So we're good to go.
Oh yeah, I already published. It's retweeted and shared by me.
Nice.
One of the things we were talking about is this guy, 576 yards after the catch.
Mm-hmm.
Only behind Devontae Smith and Amari Rodgers. So pretty good company, 16.1 yards per catch average last year. Looks like a return man too, maybe kick returner, probably a gunner on special teams. I think the shock's still there that they moved up for a wide receiver, especially amongst some fans. But you got to think this team has a luxury, as we were speaking before, when it came to the wide receiver, running back, tight end position. They can do anything else. Where do you think they go next, though? Is it a tight end? Is it a defensive lineman, linebacker, cornerback? They have holes at all, or maybe do they like what they see out of Herb Miller that they don't touch cornerback this year?
This pick makes absolute sense to me. He's kind of like a poor man's Rondale Moore, in my opinion. And I think he probably would have been drafted a lot higher if he went to a bigger school. I think North Texas is still in the Sun Belt. I know they had some realignments like MTSU's and CUSA or Conference USA now. So I want to say North Texas is still in the Sun Belt, but either way, dude, yeah, return man. And this is just what we were talking about earlier, Josh, is he can you don't have to have a separate guy taking up the return spot like Jaden Mickens. Yes, he got on the field some, but this guy Jalen is going to probably be more likely to get on the field more than Jaden Mickens. He's a more dynamic player. He's a better athlete, and he can take up that return spot. So, boom, right there, you're kind of taking pressure off of the roster to field these guys that you need. Where they go next, I'm honestly surprised they didn't take an inside linebacker with this pick. I figured just the depth there. I like Jack Keeshe, but you cannot count on him. You cannot rely on him at this point in his career. It's also the last year of his contract, if I'm thinking correctly. But regardless.
He's a free agent still.
Oh, he is still a free agent. I thought they re-signed him. Okay, well, either way, then you need somebody next to Kevin Minter behind Levante and Devin. So, but I would think they go inside linebacker next. I would think so, but still wouldn't surprise me to see him go defensive lineman, depending who's still on the board.
Yeah, I mean, guys like Justin Hilliard, Isaiah McDuffie as
Garrett
well.
Wallow. I like Garrett Wallow.
Garrett Wallow out of TCU, right?
Yeah, he's a former safety too, so he's got some coverage skills. He doesn't have like the coverage skills you would want from a former safety, but he's still pretty good. He kind of fits the mold of what Tampa Bay's looking for.
Yeah, a couple of the names too. Dylan Moses out of Alabama, still lingering on the board. Grant Stewart out of Houston. Cameron Roan out of Michigan. I think a lot of people thought he would probably be gone by now as well.
Rashad Weaver just got taken by
Tennessee. Traded up with Green Bay, or is that part of a? No, that was part of a different trade. Yeah, great pick by them. I don't know how he was still available there. That's definitely a great pick.
Mm-hmm.
Those Alabama linebackers like Dylan Moses always seem to fall. Like there's outside of who's the one guy, Dante Hightower. Outside of him, man, they always seem to fall in the draft. I don't know what it is.
Arizona has traded up to this spot as well. Coming on to the end of the fourth round here, we've got 2 more picks in the regular than the compensatory picks.
I wouldn't be surprised if this trade up by Arizona's for Brevin Jordan.
That'd make a lot of sense.
That'd make a hell of a lot of sense, and I would love that move for them. That's really what their offense is missing now is a tight end. We got some people in the comments here. Crystal Cole says, "Gotta trust BA and Light, especially after Light's last few drafts." But I also agree. This draft is so weird this year. What are the odds they move up again potentially if Nixon continues to slide? Do you think they use maybe some of next year's capital or maybe both of their sevenths to slide up in the 5th round? I mean, do they even have enough ammo to move anywhere now? Or the 7th's going to get it done? They're both at the end of the draft.
Let you go first, Andrew.
I know that everyone's talking about the 2022 picks being like gold, and I think it's more like the first 4 to 5 rounds would be. So I think if we dug into our pockets and tossed a 6th for like a Nixon or a Wilson, if they were there, and that's who we wanted to go with and just shore up that defensive line, I got no issues with that. But I would like to keep as much picks as we could for next year. So.
Yeah, I think you don't have any more ammo at this point. You're going to have to dive into next year. 2 7th-round picks, maybe if you picked at the top of the 7th. And again, we talked about this a little last night, is one thing about the disadvantage with Tampa Bay, the main disadvantage with their draft picks is they're all at the back of the round. So it's not like you're getting, an upfront pick. So they would definitely have to dive into next year's pockets, which, if let's say Davian Nixon's still on the board, man, if it costs, next year's 6th or next year's 5th and then 1 or 2 of this year's 7ths, I'm okay with that. I'd be all right with that.
Yeah.
Just depends on who's there, obviously, at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's the biggest name. Him and Brevin Jordan still on the board. That I'm kind of really shocked about. Some of the tackles too. Deontay Smith, Stone Forsythe out of Florida. A guy like Trey Smith out of Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm shocked he's still there, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
He could have been a 1st-round pick if not for the blood clots.
Yep, and those things, man, the minute they show back up, he is done until his doctors clear him. So I can understand why teams are staying away. But still, the dude was the number 1 overall pick in the country at one point during his recruiting process. Not the number 1 offensive lineman, the number 1 player in the country. So he's got so much talent, and obviously the work ethic, the character, it's all there. But yeah, I mean, his blood clots are unfortunately a major, major medical issue. And I think the fact that they resurfaced, they went away and then they came back, I think that's what really scares teams the most.
Mm-hmm. It sucks that Marco Wilson went here, because this was another underrated player that I was kind of hoping would fall just a little bit more to the Bucs. That would have been a nice complimentary to have with I just had his name too. The corner we just lost. Good special teamers there.
Ryan Smith.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It would have been a really good complimentary to have to losing that Ryan Smith. So
yeah, you think they'd probably go corner at some point. It makes total sense for them to. Ross Cockrell's a good backup and he's on a 2-year deal, but still, can't ever have too many cover guys. And the Bucs and Jason Light are no strangers to stocking the position.
Nope. And even Sean Wade, he's still falling.
I like him.
And he was projected to be a 1st-round pick. And I know he's got the injury risks and stuff like that. But once you start getting to that 5th, 6th, 7th round, what I've even said before too, when we got Scotty Miller was a 6th-round pick. And the biggest thing, obviously, that prevented him from going any higher is a lot of people thought he was a one-trick pony. He's got amazing speed, and that's basically it. And we got him in the 6th-round pick as a 6th-round pick, and we put him in our system. And not to say he is a one-trick pony, but he can be useful. He is not necessarily a poor man's Adam Humphries of a couple years ago, but he's definitely starting to get into an Adam Humphries type role where he can start being a starter.
Guys,
if he was utilized. Oh yeah, no worries, Josh.
Keep it going.
Yeah, he could be utilized into that role a little bit more, obviously. It's a crowded wide receiver room that we got going here now, but it'll be interesting what they do start to pick up here in the ends, because Davion Nixon, Marvin Wilson, some of these other wide receivers, like Kenneth Gainwell and Demetric Felton are still there. Like, how the heck is that even possible?
Yeah, it's interesting to see Kenneth Gainwell, especially. I figured he would be out in the fourth round, or not the fourth, sorry, the third round. And to see him still there right now is really surprising. It really is. And yeah, I mean, they can do whatever they want right now. So and at this point, you got to think Justin Watson and Jaden Mickens are both in big, big trouble, because that's the sixth wide receiver spot right there. And you got to think, unless Darden just does not pan out in training camp and in rookie mini camps, then it looks like the days are numbered for Watson and Mickens. That's unfortunate. I like Justin Watson. I got to interview him during his rookie year, and he's a really good kid. But unfortunately, sometimes things just don't work out.
Yeah, I mean, it's same thing with me. I liked Riley Below of a couple of years ago there. I figured if we would have just kept him I know it would have taken 5 or 6 years to get him developed the way we wanted to, but I figured if we could have kept him around, he would have been nice to have as like a coaching guy as well later on.
Yeah.
But that's just the thing. This is the league, and this is how it happens. And the only thing that we can hope to keep these type of players in a nice role going forward is maybe CFL XFL merger, and we can get some real development and real grounds for some of these players to actually play on. So,
dude, they should have never gotten rid of NFL Europe. I don't give a damn what anybody says. NFL Europe was the shit, man. I loved that, and I mean, that's where Kurt Warner came from. I can't think of the other decent quarterback that came out of there. I can't remember his name, but then Cameron Wake. I mean, without NFL Europe, Cameron Wake would have never been in the NFL. So you can get some quality players out of that league. And I love the uniforms, man. And then they had the whole European soccer field to the games and stuff. It was cool, man. I enjoyed it. I loved watching it.
And see, you could even eventually later on, if the XFL and CFL merge and it actually takes off and they're like, okay, so this is the new way that we do it from now on, right? You could eventually bring in those European old school teams, and you could just keep it going because of the money. Like, we know the inevitability is coming for a European team there. We just don't know when or how or what the heck's going to happen, but it's there. It's coming.
Yep, and then if the NFL's backing it, then it's not going to close up unless they want it to, and that's exactly what happened with NFL Europe. They just like, we don't want to mess with this anymore. Let's just put our own teams over there. Exactly. Is what they really started thinking. But either way, if the NFL's backing it, odds are then it's gonna work, because they're kind of like I'm not trying to bring politics into it, but they're kind of like Donald Trump. They never want to be seen as a failure, so they'll do whatever they have to do to keep it going.
And that's fair. And that's one of the reasons why this whole CFL XFL merger would be really dope, is because you take the CFL, which us up here in Canada doesn't make that much money. It's more just like we get to see our Canadians play, and we take the rejected players from America and stuff like that, and they get to go off and have fun like Warren Moon did back in the day here, that, and everything else. Whereas I'm kind of the opposite now, where I'm like, listen, if you want the Canadians to just be given a position on a football team and stuff like that, sure, that's also the reason why we're not making any money off of said league. So maybe if there's a bit of a kick in the butt where there's, hey, there's only one spot left on this team, and we kind of want to give it to you, the Canadian here, but we got to see a little bit more. You're going to see more development. You're going to see a lot more of these universities here be like, okay, now we got real money coming in here. We can develop real football players here in Canada. And then all of a sudden, Minnesota, Buffalo, all those northern teams, they start drafting and scouting up here, which they normally do. But now you'll start getting real talent because these guys will actually get paid like $500,000 a year. And that's what I'm training my kid for. It's like, you see those uprights? Kick right through that thing, and if you just keep doing that and you keep doing it perfectly, I can promise all of your dreams will come true.
Yeah, man. I mean, like the best positions. I mean, and granted, kicker, you've got to deal with all mental. Like, if you could be a good kicker, the best positions in the NFL: long snapper, kicker, and then backup quarterback. Man, I mean, I just tell my kid, hey, just shoot for the moon in that category. You want to be great. I get it. You want to win championships and be the guy. But, hey, in the grand scheme of things, and then you can get a sweet studio job at ESPN, Dan Orlovsky, and then, you're set for life, man. So, yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot into that. And I mean, yeah, anytime just more people can get acclimated to the game. That's one thing I love about what's going on in America with soccer right now is
Yes.
a lot soccer's catching on quick. It should have caught on a long time ago, but it's catching on in America, especially down here in the South, which is just crazy. Not trying to be stereotypical or anything, but the South and soccer, if you've lived here your entire life like I have, it's just not something that immediately comes into your mind as cohesive. But either way, I mean, it's cool whenever you get to watch people from, beyond the borders and all that stuff get acclimated to the whole culture, the lifestyle, and all that stuff. And all that's going to do at the end of the day is grow the sport, and it's going to make it more fun. So, I mean, in terms of expansion and all that stuff and doing what you're talking about, I don't see why they don't do it. It should be something easy to do.
Yeah, and I mean,
not easy to do, like an easy, successful idea is what I meant to say.
I mean, especially with hockey back in the day, everyone was like, oh, if you put all these American teams in there, it's just going to ruin the sport. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know what fills those American teams? Canadian players, because they're really effing good. That's just the way it is. And I've joked about it many a times here on a few shows. There goes Smith right there.
I was going to say, I just saw the Steelers popped up. Who was taken?
Was that? So the Bengals got Deontay Smith. So
okay.
There we go.
I thought you meant Trey Smith at first. It's like, oh, he's finally gone.
Oh, no. So, Deontay Smith tackle went to the Bengals. I just happened to look over, and I'm like, oh, took him long enough, but all right.
Well, ESPN's got Pittsburgh on the clock right at ESPN.com, and it says the pick is in, and then they've got best fit Trey Smith. So when you said Smith, I was like, oh, they took him.
Oh, I see.
I was like, there he goes. Oh, yeah, I guess pictures, but I don't know. I will say on my TV, it says it's on commercial, but it says the pick is in.
Buddy Johnson, it says now for me. It just popped up.
Really? Okay, yeah, it just popped up too. Linebacker. Man, that is wild, dude. If Trey Smith ends up going undrafted or something, that's just going to blow my mind.
There's a couple of these players, like I said, like the two main. I mean, me being a dynasty show and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm like, okay, guys, more offensive weapons, please. Let's go.
Oh, and Connor Hughes, the athletic. I don't know if you've. I turned on notifications for him yesterday because he was getting picks out 5, 6, 7 minutes before they would show up on whatever channel you're watching the draft on. So I started following. He's already said the Rams have selected wide receiver Jacob Harris. Packers are now on the clock. Then the Jets. Dude, yeah, go ahead and turn on notifications for him today because the dude was fine. And the weird part about it is, I mean, like I said, every single pick, he's just, sources tell the Athletic. And I said, he was getting these picks out 5, 6, 7 minutes before. All of a sudden, he tweets out, "Gonna take a pick break. I'll be right back." And then he never tweeted again for the rest of the night. I was like, did the NFL just seriously tell this dude, "Hey, quit it, man. You're busting our balls here"? I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Because then all of a sudden, your Ian Rappaports, your Adam Schefters, and then just the broadcasts were the ones that were breaking it, unless somebody got it out. I'm talking like Dov Kleeman. He got it out. The Bucs selection of Hainsey, he got it out 5 seconds before it popped up on the TV. So I really think the NFL was like, hey, bro, you got to chill.
Yeah, I think.
But now he's back today, so I don't know what's going on.
They probably now they're in the 4th and 5th round. They're like, I don't get whatever.
Right.
Sure.
You're killing our ratings. So, seriously, at one point, I even tweeted it out last night. I was like, I'm just gonna watch, and it was other sources too that were doing it, or other people rather, not sources. I was like, man, I'm just gonna watch the draft on my timeline. I was like, no doubt at this point, especially since I'm trying to get articles and content out, in a timely manner,
as fast as you can. Yep.
That's why. Oh, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's why you don't follow the Stephen Che live videos, because then you'd be writing it halfway through, and then you'd be like, oh, he got had. Okay.
Right. Okay, so now Connor's saying the Packers just took offensive tackle Royce Newman. So, yeah, I guess the NFL just doesn't care, man.
Yeah, they probably at this point they probably don't. And I mean, with this many rounds, I saw what they did with the NBA. The NBA last year, I'm going on a buddy's show that they were trying to do, and I'm like, I got these picks a minute and a half, 2 minutes before these guys. And then eventually they were like, can you just send us a private message and we can use it on the show? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I just kept doing that for them. And then one of them ended up becoming my co-host. So,
nice.
But Yeah, it's just like I saw that happen last year. Yeah, oh yeah, there it is, Royce Newman. So he is right. I saw it happen last year with the NBA, and I was like, yeah, these insiders are just going to start killing the drafts here, like really badly.
Yeah, it's crazy how, and that's one thing, like on the whole thing that I've never really been able to get a firm grip on is getting these sources. Like, how do you develop that relationship? I mean, I know there's ways of just being around, and then you get introduced as, you know, the person writing for this, and naturally a lot of people do come up to you, and you just naturally start conversation. But to get like really, really plugged in, you know, it's just like, hey, dude, you know, pay you $1,000 a month, you know, and shoot me some information. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like that's I've never understood how these guys get like that fully ingrained into the system, for lack of a better phrase.
See, sometimes I know it to be just pure luck. I mean, like for example, the only two say real things that I've ever gotten to do. I got to break the Kraken news, you know, a couple of weeks before because I had a source inside of the building essentially who was like, take it if you want, but it's going to be Kraken. And he's like, you could drop it because, you know, you're still small time and stuff like that. So it'll give you a little bit here. I sat in my basement and I just kind of stared at my screen and I'm like, I don't know if I should do this.
Yeah. Do I do it? Do I pull the trigger? Yep.
And I did. And I ended up being trending on Facebook and it was #1 for like a good hour. So I was like, okay, I got my one, which is nice.
Yeah,
but the other time that I got anything was I was just on a plane coming back from Jamaica, and the guy beside me ended up being Jeff Carter's dad, which ends up being a hockey player who won a Stanley Cup. And I, was like, okay, yeah, I believe you, kind of thing. I wasn't trying to be rude or anything, but it was like, whatever you say. And he's pulling out pictures. He's got a video of him in the cup and stuff like that. And there's a couple things where I was like, you should not be showing me this. And he's like, that's all. I was like, oh my God. Like this actually does happen to the cup every year. Like, oh my goodness. So yeah, it's quite fun when you just kind of land these opportunities and stuff like that. Like I know, I bet you eventually it'll come out that I'm trying to remember the owner of ESPN there.
Just the one in general.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the name slips me as well. I have an idea, but yeah.
But there's always that infamous story of like how him and Adam Schefter got like really, really drunk and stuff like that, and just started spewing stuff to each other. And he basically admitted to him, he's like, "Listen, I will give you like everything, and I'll make you big, kind of thing. You just like keep it on the DL, and we'll forever do this, and you'll become who you are, and ESPN will forever stay relevant, and this, that, and everything else." And if you look what has kind of happened now, like it kind of makes sense. Some of these rumors that have sort of, and I'm like, I hope in like 20 years there's a big old documentary that comes out about insiders, and Adam Schefter is the top of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, they did that Showtime story on him, or not Showtime, Real Sports on HBO with him, and it was pretty incredible, man.
Yeah.
That. Yeah, and agents have a lot to do with it as well. They text media people and tell them stuff, so to leak stuff for their clients' benefit and all that other stuff. So it's crazy how it all just comes together. And look at what Christopher Cole said in the comments. It's like talking about Darden. He said, watch the press conference. That kid is going to be a beast. Yeah, man. I mean, dude, I can't wait to see what he does. And like I've been saying all offseason, a guy like a Rondale Moore, like a Jalen Darden, is exactly what this offense is missing. I mean, they're missing that yards after the catch guy, that true yards of the catch. Yes, I know Chris Godwin led in Yak in 2019, but still, that's not what his game is. He's not explosive after the catch. A guy like Darden is, a guy like Moore is, and you can draw up specific types of plays, and at the same time, you got the benefits in the return game. So the Bucs are hitting on all cylinders, man. Right now, it's awesome to watch what they're doing. And I said all off season long, they do what they're supposed to do in free agency, and then they hit these draft picks. And this is all bias aside. I am taking all my fandom out of my mouth, out of my head. I'm throwing it out. You can literally closely associate the word unstoppable with this team. I mean, with what they're doing right now. You really can.
Close.
Outside of injury, obviously.
Yes, of course.
Everything's filled. The depth pieces are there. That's the crazy part, is the depth pieces are there. And, we'll see what happens. But hey, guys, it's been fun. I got to hop off. So
absolutely. I'm gonna wrap this up. Just got out of that interview, and like Chris Cole, he's gonna be a beast. He said he's been working out in the weight room trying to get big. One of the biggest things he offers is making plays with the hands and with the ball in his hands. Obviously contested by the yards after catch, and what you were just speaking on. I really like this kid. I think the Steelers, the Raiders took another safety. That's 3 safeties in this draft.
I need it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, guys, I'm going to close this down. We'll be back at the top of the 5th round. I'd say promote yourself, guys, but there's only 2 people watching. So not many people to promote yourself. But North Sports Dynasty, make sure you have Buck support. Evan Winter putting out the content. He'll have another article out about the next draft pick. I'm sure that's coming out. So a lot of stuff going on. We'll be back in the 5th round once that kicks off. A little bit later here, I'm going to go feed myself and my kids some lunch. But thanks for joining us in the pop-up show, and I'll talk to you guys in a little bit.
See y'all later. See you, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, guys. Cheers.
Later. So that's going to do it for us right now. We will be back breaking down these picks. We will be back breaking down the coverage. But so far, on day 1, the Buccaneers trade up using their 6th round pick, number 17 overall, to move up into the 4th round to select Jalen Darden, wide receiver out of North Texas. Kid's going to be a player capable of being contributing in the return game and also as a wide receiver. Probably knocks off definitely Jaden Mickens, but also Justin Watson and Travis Johnson off this roster. So great pick. They obviously liked them a lot to move up for him. But that's going to do it for me right now in the Audible. We will be back, and I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. See you later.
We them Bucks, and we taking over. 31 teams, best look over your shoulder. We them Bucks. It's our time to shine. They ain't never gonna stop, and we on the grind, and we them Bucks. Our team is louder, putting fear up in the league, and they folding cower. We them Bucks. And we winning it all. The ship is in our backyard, and this year is ours. We the Bucks. We the Bucks.